Welcome back to the Art of Selling Travel podcast. Today, you are in for a treat. It is a strategy packed masterclass on how to host a cruise night, talking group sales, and how to fill repeatable itineraries year after year. I was joined by Colin Price of Azamara Cruises to talk all things sales strategies and, of course, consumer events. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
This is the Art of Selling Travel podcast, and here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Hello, Colin.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. How are you doing today? All good?
Good. I am so pumped for this conversation. Years ago, we did some events together. And so when I got that question about how do I do a cruise night, instantly I was like, hey, Colin.
I love it. Well, I'm glad you thought of me.
So the question I got from somebody in my community is everybody talks about doing a cruise night or even just a travel night as a whole. So whether we're talking cruise, expedition, river, whatever it is,
Yeah.
what in your experience is the best way for a travel advisor to get the best benefit from hosting a cruise night, or why should they even consider it?
I think it's an awesome question. I think going a step further is what is the final goal? What is the goal of why are we even doing this event? So the way I look at it, obviously, we all want to make bookings. We want to make money. We know that's the final goal. To get there, I think there's a lot of great tools. I find that groups, no matter what the company is, groups is the little gold mine. We all have different, not to say terms and conditions, but benefits that happen within it. But majority of us, one of the biggest advantages is a price advantage. You're going to save probably anywhere from a couple $100 to a few $1,000s when you're booking into a group. Now, of course, the more staterooms you sell, generally you're going to get a stateroom for free. So what I would recommend is we're stepping back here of looking at saying, where do I want to go as a traveler? Where am I interested in going? So I would look up whether the cruise line that you're operating, look at where they're going that catches your eye, because if you believe in it, people will buy it based on you. So I would find what you're interested in. I would create a group on that particular date. Then whether you're working with a supplier like myself, we know the goal is to sell that group. So when we arrange, maybe we're doing if you have a storefront, for example, maybe we're looking at doing an event in your store. And with that event, like we do a white night on board where everybody gets all dressed in white. So we could echo that and say, let's do a white night and have everybody come all dressed up. We could do like a little wine and cheese, just something very, very simple. We can do a brand overview, but us as the supplier, we can write that group pricing and presentation into the message. And again, really putting the focus that you are hosting this trip, you're going to be there. So that's kind of the starting kind of phase to get them kind of warmed up. I think also too, we were talking about this once before about the power of a phone call. We all get a bazillion emails a day, right? The power of picking up the phone and saying, hey, I'm doing this event. We're going to be talking about this particular cruise that I'm going to be hosting. I'd love you to join us. Come out and check this out. See if you're interested in this time of the year. We're doing this event on this night at this time. It's amazing. The buy-in from the phone call, huge offhand. So I think that's kind of the first step is finding where do you want to go. Get a group created onto it. Whether you want to do it in store, we can find a small restaurant with a private back room. There's options of where we do this. We can absolutely do that. And then from there, I would echo this again later in the year as well. So again, I would maybe look at, like for myself, I work with a lot of other suppliers from river cruises, expedition, and maybe we're getting 4 or 5 suppliers together. And you've already done a few of these events earlier in the year with them, but you're re-echoing this again at the end of the year. So it's a follow-up again. Let's invite everybody out, maybe a slightly bigger. And again, it's amazing how these groups start to grow. They're not all going to be 300 passengers right out the gate. It takes that time to build it, but this just kind of keeps going. It's just a never-ending circle this way. So those are a few of my starting steps of hosting an event, why to host an event, how to host an event.
Yep.
And
That's awesome. So how far out in advance? So let's say you've picked your group and you want to do a cruise night. What are we looking at for timelines?
So right now we're in February as we speak. I'd say a lot of other reps out there, our schedules for March, April, May, solidly booked across the board. My October is usually fully booked by November already.
Oh,
So
wow.
basically like 12 months out. So if like right now we're talking, I would be kind of looking at seeing if there's still a hole in there somewhere in that March, April. If we could pull it off, amazing. It's going to be tighter, but definitely looking at that November. So looking at that 7, 8 months out and saying, okay, this is where maybe we can do our actual event on that. Now, this is where the window gets tricky. Now, I can't obviously speak to everybody's policies, but most are pretty similar as well. Most group space, you can hold it for about 3 months with no deposit. So you kind of don't want to be sitting on this and then waiting 6 months to do an event. That's not going to work for you as well. So it's kind of finding that little balance. So if you've got time in March and April, finding a supplier like myself, being like, do you have this window? Can we make this work? Most of us will try and bend our schedules to make it happen. We could also always look at doing a virtual thing. Doesn't have to be in person. I think in person is a great value. But for me, even to sell a group, I don't need to have 100 people on the call, right? I would rather have like 8 really qualified couples that you're looking to travel with, and let's sell them on that as well. So let's put 8 really qualified people. We can do a Teams call or a Zoom. Very, very easy. It's personal. I know the questions that they're going to ask me. I can tell you what those are in advance, so you can lead the conversation and pass that and know what to ask and so on. So there's a lot of different creative ways to do it, but I would try and the more notice you can give to a supplier, the better. Or just locking us in every year saying this date, this Thursday in November. And great, I'll save the date for you. Not a problem.
That's awesome. I think that's so important too, just what you said. You know the questions you're going to get asked because, again, while an advisor might only do a consumer night once or twice or, 4 or 5 times a year, you're doing them 3, 4 times a week in
Yeah.
some capacity or another. And so I think that's where building that relationship with a business development manager is so important as well, because that's where you can partner up and lean into their experience, lean into what they know, because they're going to be able to help guide you. Again, you can do the virtual.
Yeah.
The in-person, I believe in-person is really becoming back right
Yeah.
now.
100%.
People want that connection. They want that ability to touch, feel, smell things, if you will.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more of that where people want to know who they're doing business with. And this becomes an
100%.
opportunity. But it doesn't have to be that way. There is so many different ways in which you can do it.
Yeah.
Now, something else that you talked about, because this is a group, one thing I do want to just kind of chase a swirl on for a second.
Mhm.
For the advisor, you're picking something you want to do, which that's phenomenal because your level of excitement is part of the selling secret sauce. But, or rather I should say, and the one thing to be most aware of is you need to make that decision. If I don't get enough people, am I still going to go on that trip? And the reason why I say that is so incredibly important is, one, your energy is going to be wildly different when you're going come hell or high water versus only if I can afford it, only if enough people, because then you come at it with like this desperate, icky money thing, as opposed to, oh my goodness, this is so freaking amazing. You don't want to miss it.
Also, too, when you send the follow-up photos, be like, I really wish you were here. I can't wait for you guys to be on the next one, starting that planning already. But absolutely, you got to go either way.
Right? And I think right there, you just led into something too. This isn't about your one and done. This is about building in that repeatable. If you're going to do groups, I think that's a big mistake people make with groups is they're like, well, I'm just going to get this one done. And then once it's over, then I'll figure it out. Having your next one booked while you have people at the peak of excitement, they're on trip A. You want to have all the details in place for trip B. We went on a cruise this fall, and they even had it on our schedule when we would be booking the next one. And it's so funny because when we went on, just the way things were, we're like, we're just doing this because we already happened to be in port. So it made sense.
Yeah.
We were like day 2. I looked at my husband. I'm like, so this is just annual? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And then as the week went on, we noticed they weren't talking about the next one. And I don't know what happened because they still talk about, they're like, yeah, there'll be another. It's not on their schedules. It's not anywheres. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I wonder what happened. I wonder what this, I wonder like, and so there becomes these questions. And the longer it goes after this trip, the more as a consumer, we're able to start building in our own objections. Versus if they would have said, okay, guys, this is the next date. They could have said it's in 2 years. It would have been take our money.
Yeah.
And now we're like, yeah, it was fun. Like we had fun, didn't we? But in that moment, they are at the peak. Like when I really focus in, I can remember how much fun, like crazy amount of fun we had on that cruise. Yeah. But the longer that we've been home, the further away that seems.
100%.
So as you were saying before, we talked a little bit before we started recording, you had mentioned at a cocktail party. So obviously you do cruises. So you're at the cocktail party and you were saying, how would they go about getting the next one booked for their clients?
So what I would do, you're locked, you're booked, you're ready to go on this particular cruise. Before you leave, I'd be looking, where do I want to go next? What's next on that list for me? And at that point, maybe getting a little bit of feedback from your clients as well. Where do you want to go next? Have the conversation with them. And if everybody's saying, I really want to do the Spain, Portugal intensive voyage, like, okay, let me look at this. I would grab that group space for 2 years out or so, whatever the date be. I'd hold that space. And then once we're on board during our cocktail party, I would let them all know and be like, guys, just so you know, I locked in secured a really great rate for March of 2028, doing the Spain, Portugal, overnights here, late nights in Valencia. Sell on the benefits, get excited, do a little bit of homework of what's in it. They're gonna be like, that sounds really amazing. Like, even better, if you really like this idea, you can just go down to the Cruise Again desk downstairs, let them know, here's the group number. They can book you right now, pop your deposit and get you secured into that space. But when we get back, we'll be opening it up as well. I'm going to start marketing. But if you want first dibs of getting the best stateroom, that chance, that's it. It's having that conversation. And then later when you're talking with them, be like, hey, you guys had a chance to go down to the Cruise Again desk? Like, I know a few others were looking at it as well. Keep asking that question. And they're like, yeah, I need to get down there. And then they're going to see on any cruise line it is, as we start getting later in that voyage, you won't be able to get into the Cruise Again desk. It's so busy with other guests that have all lined up that are booking. And again, so now they're like, oh man, I really need to get in there. Every time I go by, they are busy. But again, now you get us doing the work for you. So when you get home, you've got invoices with deposits paid, right spelling of the name, it's booked into it. It's a win-win. And that circle just keeps going if you keep going. And the best part then is then you can ask that couple, is there anybody else that you'd like to bring with you? Anybody else? If it was me I used to be an advisor as well, I would give them a referral fee. Like, you know what? If you can get me another couple to join you as well, I'll add an extra $200 onboard credit for you, and I'll get them an extra $100 as well. And then I'd tell them the same thing, right? I would just keep building it. So.
And that's when it's so important to really understand your numbers, because if you know what the cost of acquisition is for a new group passenger, because again, it's not just about this group, it's about how many other groups you're going to get them to come on. Let's say you know that it's going to cost you $300 on average per couple in Facebook ads, Google ads, just this, that, the other. Mm-hmm. Take that $300. Zucker doesn't need it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, do that in an onboard credit as a thank you, and let them multiply for you. Imagine selling out your cruise group without ever actually having to market it. Is that not the dream?
And then the big picture too, utilizing these TCs, right? The bonuses. Yes, the first one's going to be probably for your part, and the second one's going to be for your guest that's going to join you. But then as you start to gain to 3, 4, and 5 TCs, and you've now got a $34,000 TC, I don't really remember that $300 anymore, because I'm looking at the $30,000 check I just picked up over here.
Yeah.
So it's all relevant at the end of the day. And most of these groups, they range anywhere 150 grand to 700K. Like, I couldn't tell you how many groups I can see out there that are worth 500 grand. It's a lot of bookings of marketing and selling to get to 500 grand, where you could just focus on one group and they just want to keep doing that every year. And then we slowly grow it from one group to now we're looking at a XYZ tour operator and XYZ river and myself. And now you're doing 2 to 3 trips. I would love to just nothing more than work on going on 3 trips a year, getting paid to go. And that's it. The rest is all gravy that comes in.
That, my friends, is called living the dream.
Right. It is. But it all starts with, as you just said, it's that first phone call with like a rep, building that relationship, getting on board. And then again, the value of, like you just said, people want that human connection. Coming to that, whether we book out a private room in a restaurant in the back, it's a nice little touch, right? So there's it doesn't have to be in a storefront office. There's so many things that we could do. And I think all reps are really, we're open to doing, we're in.
Absolutely. The coolest group I ever did was Farms, Foods, and Factories of Italy. And it was a custom built with a guided vacation company. And it all started with a conversation at a supper at a gala with the president of that particular company. And he just looked at me and he said, "So tell me about your clients." And that's how that started. By the end of that conversation, we had it kind of figured out what we wanted. And within a week, we were under deposit. And within a month of putting it out, it was sold out.
That's awesome.
And it started as, tell me about your clients.
Yeah.
And being willing to have that conversation. Now, something you said earlier, and I know that this is more of an Azamara thing, but you were saying about country intensives. And before we started recording, you gave me the best, like, mind-blowing concept. And so I'm going to just let you retell that story because I loved it.
Well, speaking to an office recently, and I actually bring this up quite often, they claim to be the cruise experts. And again, we all have our scopes. Well, I was like, you as the cruise experts, if I called your office and I asked you, what do you recommend for Ireland? Would you have recommended a cruise? Probably not, right? Never mind it has Azamara cruise, just a cruise in general. There's a lot of great land operators that do a great job at Ireland or Scotland off it. I would argue that we spend more time in that destination than they do. Now, we know the perk to cruising in general is unpack your suitcase once. That's a big perk. We know the perk to a lot of land tour operators that it's the time in the evening there. Well, what if you could have both? And that's where we do a really good job. So in this Irish intensive cruise that I did, again, this is one I'm like, I'm going whether anybody's coming with me or not. I'm going on this trip. And I am so glad that I went. So most cruises, the standard, you have to be on the ship by 4:00 that first day, and then you set sail. We don't leave till 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So you're treating the ship like your boutique hotel in Dublin. Now, what I loved is we had 2 full nights now in Dublin. Day 3 of the cruise, when we got to Belfast, I took an Uber to the airport and I rented a car. I had a car rental for 2 full days because we didn't leave till 10 p.m. that next day. Now, we can all think of how many clients we've had out there, or maybe we've cruised ourselves. How many times have you rented a car for 2 full days in the middle of your trip? And it was so neat that we could come and go. We went out to the dark hedges and the Giant's Causeway. It was the greatest experience. But unpacking my suitcase once, coming and going, using the ship as my boutique hotel as my drop-off point. And then again, it was just an easy way of doing it. And we were talking again earlier. I'm like, next I want to go to Scotland. I want to do it where we've got the triple over in Edinburgh, looking that. Now, from our product point, we can do back-to-back-to-backs. I just didn't have that luxury of time. Your clients probably do, though. The killer for most of the clients on any trip is the air. It's the air and getting there. Most clients, though, when they get there, they do have the time. And what I love with like a couple, we didn't talk about this, but like, let's just use the Irish cruise, for example. We started in Dublin and we ended in Southampton on that. So you could have now sold a 3-day pre as well as a 3-day post. A standard cruise out there was probably going to be a round trip Venice, round trip Barcelona, round trip, whichever. It just means you're selling 3 days pre and nothing post. But now that you can sell an extra set of hotels, you're making more commission on that. Also, the longer the stay, the longer your insurance is. And again, my always thought with an insurance is if you can't afford the insurance, you can't afford the trip. Simple as that, right? So I got another whole other take on insurance. I'll come back to that in a sec. But I think it's so great, especially using our product, for example, is that you can have a look at where do we go the week after? Where do we go that? So you could continue to do 4 or 5 cruises and not repeat a single itinerary. And I think as an advisor, often we are just looking at that set of dates and not asking that conversation like, hey, you know what? This next trip is going to Scotland. Would you have any interest? Like you're already there. And we can make this one booking number, one final payment, one stateroom, and keep going. You're already there. And the air is not going to cost you anything different doing an open jaw. So, but now with that, your insurance is that much longer. Now you're going to sell 3 more pre or post at the other end and so on. So I just think that there's so many unique itineraries out there that they probably haven't thought about. And you being the expert, I truly believe that in every conversation, a sale is made.
Mhm.
You either sell them the trip or they sell you a reason not to buy it, right? The sale's made. And I think the other thought of it is people buy something for what it will do for them. Like, in all fairness, we've all got a smartphone out there. We all have a smartphone. Right? There it is. There is a less expensive version of that smartphone out there. You bought that smartphone based on the benefits of what it is going to do for you, right?
Yep.
Where I'm going with that is understanding what a product, understanding what is included. So I'm going to do a little quick little Azamara pitch for a hot second, knowing that like gratuities are included, right? Beverages anytime. And now for us, our focus is time in port. That's the benefit, is time in these destinations, these overnights, these triple overnights. But people will buy it for what it does for them. It might be $1,000 more than XYZ out there, but when they understand that they're getting double or triple the time, that changes the plan. And this is why you are genuinely excited about this product. And people are like, I get it. Like everything you say, it makes sense, right? So, yeah.
And that's like, there's first off, so many nuggets there. I love the one-way concept
Oh, shoot.
because, and really and truly, I really want this conversation as the advisor listening right now. It's time that we all slow down and rethink how we've always done things and rethink what's in front of us. Something as simple as understanding the beauty of a one-way sailing. As you said, it adds on a pre and post. In some ways, a pre or post is almost like a little mini vacation
100%.
aside from the vacation. So now you've given your clients an opportunity to double up on that effect. And so, yes, you now have pre and post options. You've extended insurance. But the other thing is you've just created more opportunity for your client. That simple line of, would you have any interest in, is one of the most powerful lines. Just to say, oh, the next sailing happens to be here. Would you have any interest in that one as well? Guess what? When they say yes, look at what the next one is. We had a conversation. I think I might even mentioned it earlier. I did 3 separate cruises in November with one night in between, just the way my life worked out.
Yeah.
But I would not have considered myself a back-to-back-to-back kind of person.
Right.
The thing I would have loved more is to have not had to get off of the ship. But at the same time, too, you don't know what your audience is open to unless you ask them. Yeah, I absolutely, I love that idea. And then the price, the amount of travel advisors. I got to be honest, I believe the travel advisors are far more scared of pricing than clients are.
100%.
It's this idea of, oh my goodness, we have to compete. Like, but if I'm not the cheapest, then they're going to buy from somebody else and they're going to this, that, the other. When you're comparing a product, rarely is it actually apples to apples. We're lucky when it's apples to oranges or apples to bananas rather than apples to giraffes.
For sure.
Because sometimes that is how far apart it is. But the example that you were giving that we talked about beforehand, it was to another cruise line. It was a little bit more mass market, but premium luxury, like a premium type brand.
Yeah.
But you were saying it was what, an 11-night sailing?
Yeah. So it was interesting. Again, you nailed it. It was apples to giraffes, right? And I don't get me wrong, I love this product. I can't knock it. Brand new hardware, essentially. They were $8,000 for a 12-night cruise. I was $12,000 for the 12-night cruise on this particular situation. I can't argue. $4,000 less and brand new hardware, double green check mark for them. Absolutely, I agree. But if that's all you're looking at, so be it. You're not wrong, but you're kind of missing the bigger picture of what is the purpose of the trip. If we were going to Europe, now you're going to spend, let's just say it was the 8 grand. You're still going to book your hair. You're probably into it for another couple of grand. So you're up to basically 12 grand. You got insurance, you got hotels. You're going to do it for 15 grand. Okay. When we start to let's try and make it apples for oranges, at least in that situation. I include drinks and beverages. Let's just add that into the bill onto theirs as well. So now you're closer to 10 grand versus 12 grand. That's still a 2 grand, $1,000 each difference. On this particular voyage, on the 12-night voyage, they went to 7 ports. We went to 11 ports. Okay. Of that, though, we also had 1 overnight, and we were just simply in port longer. They were in port till 5 o'clock each day. We generally didn't leave till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. So you had this extra extended destination day, and you're going. So now for $1,000 more, you go all the way there. You're telling me you wouldn't want to go to like 4 or 5 more destinations and stay longer for $1,000 difference? Or you want to race back to get to the piece of shiny hardware? And don't get me wrong, gorgeous, but they're not saving money at the end of the day. It's not $4,000 less anymore. Realistically, when you start to add in those days at sea and you add on all the extra costs that are going to come in there, I'm looking at the time. I'm going to jump off. One of my favorite things, and the idea of like in Santorini, for example, nobody has an advantage in Santorini of it's a harbor. We all have to bob around out there in harbor. We all have to get in a little tender to get to shore. So most people are going to get off first thing in the morning. They're on that tender. You got 3 ways to get to the mountaintop where the city is, right? You're hiking, you're taking the donkey, or you're taking the funicular, and probably the other 12,000, 14,000 people in line are taking the gondola as well. Well, in 40-degree weather, you're looking 1.5 hours, 2 hours at times to get up there. So when I woke up and opened my veranda and had one look at that, I thought, forget this. I ordered room service. We laid back, lounge. We had our room service. We went to the pool that day, relaxed by the pool for a few hours, had lunch on board. And around 12:30, 1 o'clock, I was like, all right, let's get off. Went to get off the ship, had the tender completely to myself, completely. Walked up to the funicular gondola, not a single person in line. So I just walked up, hopped on. People are coming off sweaty, angry, because they're like, they need to get back. They're trying to beat the traffic back now. So here they are at noon, heading back. That's their day. So they've been up there for 2-3 hours. That's their day in Santorini. My favorite moment of that day was once I was at the top and I was having a glass of wine around 5 o'clock and I watched those other ships sailing away into the sunset.
Yep.
We didn't leave till 11 o'clock that night. It was unrushed. It was relaxed. I am not noticing that extra $1,000 that I spent, but I was definitely enjoying the luxury of time I had in that destination. It's a small thing, but that time, it's so valuable. So,
and I think a really good point in that too is because, again, as an advisor, now in full disclosure, up till this point, I've never sailed on Azamara. We're looking to change that in 27. But when I used to look at that, this is where my brain went. And now that you're describing it, I'm like, oh, that was so dumb. I would look at it, I'm like, oh my God, it's such a long day. That's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reframe it. Mm-hmm. Let's sleep in. Let's order room service. Let's lounge. Then we're going to like meander our way up without a crowd. And I've been to Santorini. I have seen those sunsets from the top of the hill, and there is nothing more spectacular. By far my favorite place. And I live in Alberta where our sunsets are pretty awful. But like Santorini over the water. And yeah, I've seen those ships sail away into the sunset. Like it's spectacular. I've also been in Santorini where it was 48 Celsius. And I have never sweated so much in my life that literally my shirt was crusty.
It's so gross. It's
so awful. That's a whole other story. I ended up having to go to a nice restaurant that night. I did not have the ability to go change. I was more horrified in my business career in my entire life as I was that moment. But anyways, but the thing is though, is that the people that are coming back at noon or 1 and they fought the crowds, they did all this and they're coming back and they're crusty, they're hot. They are so oversensoried. They are exhausted. They are mad AF.
Yeah.
And guess who's never going to cruise again?
I did on one of the cruises. I did Santorini twice. Now, one of them I did decide to come back earlier. And again, I saw the lineup with the others for the Tenderloin, which was massive. And then I got around to mine. Not a single person in line, cold towels ready for us because half the people were still up there. They didn't need to be back. So when I decided to come back, even in the middle peak that all the other companies were there, I still had no queue for our little tender. So it was just easy, just relaxing. So,
And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the other cruise lines. I've sailed many of them in my career. I love them all. Um, but let's call a spade a spade. They want their passengers on board because that's when they can open their casinos.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
how they're making their money. So when you're
Absolutely.
paying a slightly higher premium to a different cruise line, and this is what you want to convey to your clients. Now, you may have clients that are like, oh, but I don't go to the casino. No problem. Are the shops open? With the $10, $20 tables that like fill everything. Again, that's a significant revenue stream for a lot of cruise lines. And
Yeah.
so, in order to be able to sell those items, they need to be out of a port and they need to be at sea. They want you to
Yeah.
be buying their drinks, they want you to be buying their drink packages. The reason why other cruise lines will include it, now, I'm not an expert on this, just
Mhm.
my opinion.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to include it because let's be honest, you're getting to see more of the country. So you're probably not going to consume as much, which also, again, funny enough, I've never seen a fist fight video about Azamara on TikTok.
Yeah. A couple of things I know. I trust me. I like the casino. I do enjoy a good casino. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but I don't miss it on Azamara. We don't have a casino anymore. They actually fully removed them because it became pointless because it had to be closed. So they opened it up to this beautiful lounge space on that particular, which is great. But again, and then if you find a nice bottle of wine or spirit in XYD destination, you can bring it back. You can open it because you're saving us money by drinking your own booze then because we already include it. So it's kind of nice.
You're like,
Like
bottoms up, baby.
go for it. Knock yourself out. Bring your own bottle back. And so it's nice that you don't have that stress. But again, it's just relaxing and unrushed. I just love that. But yeah, there's just so many great opportunities. And I think no matter what company you want to work with, I think the reaching out to a rep, really like what kind of conversations we're having, they go a long way because you learn those little extra nuggets of that supplier and you build that relationship. But I think there's a full circuit that can happen over the course of the year. And I've a lot of groups that are 300 plus that go out. You're like, how do I get to that as well? And you're like, it didn't start that way. It started with one person that wanted to go for an exciting trip with a couple of people, maybe 3 to 5. And then the next year, a couple of people dropped out, but a couple new people added.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the living the dream of the building it. But start with the consumer event. We can walk them through how to get that created and to make it successful. I did a really cool one actually in a warehouse in Burnaby. I was just looking for an inexpensive place, found this warehouse to rent, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. There was a space. I think I spent like $600 on it or so. Called it a white night speakeasy event, and because it was hard to find.
Right.
So, and then I put up some pillars that basically some Azamara little pillars and things like that. And I'm like, and again, other suppliers they'll have banners and stuff that we can bring. Doesn't need to be super fancy. It was different, right? We
That
didn't need.
that is the key. Be
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
Be different because when you want to be seen, when you want clients to choose you, when you want clients to find you,
Yeah.
you have to be different.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're going to end it right there because be different is such a powerful way to end.
Mhm.
Colin, thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
I'm going to link everything up in the show notes for you guys. So if you've got questions or whatever, you know where to go. Until next time, happy selling. And as always, make sure you check in the show notes because we love to throw some Easter eggs in there. We put all sorts of resources in there that we sometimes don't even tell you about. So if you're not checking the show notes, you might just be missing out. And again, if you love the show, make sure that if you haven't yet given us a 5-star rating, go ahead, do that. And as always, please share with your travel advisor colleagues. The way that we get the word out is through you. So thank you again. Thank you, Colin. And until next time, happy selling.